Welcome to the Set to Lead podcast, the online mentoring platform for emerging and current leaders. My name is Marianne Samdi, leadership coach and talent development expert, and I will be your host.
Hello, Dr. Sandy. Thanks for joining the show.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Hope you're having a great morning so far.
Oh, it's a fabulous morning. And it's even more fabulous that you've joined us.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So today's conversation is about managing friends and how to make sure a promotion doesn't negatively impact your work relationships. But before we jump in, tell our listeners a little bit about your background.
I have a PhD in training and organizational development. I am currently an online adjunct professor, and I've been an adjunct professor at other universities, such as Georgia Tech, Georgia State, Clark Atlanta as well. I am doing consulting in training and organizational development now, as well as being a motivational speaker.
Oh, you're a motivational speaker. What are some topics that you deliver?
Well, one of my favorite and one of some of my clients' favorites, Help, I Need Chocolate. And I break down the word chocolate into acronyms, and I talk about them and discuss them in a kind of funny, comical way, but a healing way as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And also, I am the founder and CEO of Possibilities Unlimited for Women, where we empower women globally through our networking venues. We have people that come out and talk on a quarterly basis about anything from finances to healthcare.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for that intro right there. Dr. Sandy, have you ever been in a work situation where you had to manage a friend?
I have been. Yes, I have been.
And how successful was that relationship after you got promoted?
Well, at first, it was kind of okay. It was okay. But then she started getting a little bit, want to know everything about what was going on. And when I didn't tell her, she started getting a little bit perturbed, and she started saying things like, you think you're all that now because you're a manager. She wanted to know everything that I did in the meetings with leadership. Sometimes she would call at night and want to find out, and she would tell me about different gossip that would be happening in the department. And what really got scary was she started coming in late. And other people saw this, that's what I'm saying. And she would say, other people would say things like, you're going to get us fired. You need to stop that. And so I had to really pull her aside and really talk to her.
Mm-hmm. In retrospect, what type of boundaries do you think you should have set from the get-go?
Well, at first, I didn't set any boundaries because I thought she was a true professional. She was a true professional like I was, because I thought that one day she would be applying for another management position. I just didn't set any boundaries. One of the boundaries I probably should have set was that, okay, letting you know that I'm now in management and there are certain things that I can't divulge to you. I can't talk about. Even though I'm still your friend, I am now your manager. And to really make sure that she understood that. And so I did not do that because I thought she was a professional. I thought she knew what management was about, because I know for a fact that she did not approach other managers in the same way she approached me.
Because she had a close bond with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct. So that's one of the things I would say, that you should immediately set boundaries, or at least talk about different things once you become the manager of a friend of yours. Yeah.
Share with our listeners maybe 5 things you shouldn't do when you become your friend's boss. So from a manager perspective, what shouldn't the manager do with the direct report that's a friend?
Well, one of the things, don't discuss personal plans and issues at the workplace. Mm-hmm. Stop the gossip. Stop it. Don't discuss management issues unless you're requested to by upper level management staff, because sometimes there are management issues that they want you to kind of report back down to your employees. And so only do that when it is necessary. Another thing, complain about other staff members to that person. Complain about leadership. You don't have to have lunch with that person every day like you used to. You can stop doing that because you really won't have time to do that. And the biggest thing is showing favoritism toward that person.
So you mentioned
that's a big one.
So you mentioned that as a manager, you won't have time to sort of kind of meet with them for lunch anymore. Is that what you mentioned?
Well, not necessarily that, but there were times when we almost went to lunch at least 3 times a week, 4 times a week sometimes. And so you just will not have the time to do that, because your lunch schedule may not be until 3 o'clock. Her lunch schedule may be 12 to 1. You may have to take an early lunch and be in a meeting or off campus, so you just won't have the time to do it.
Your commitments change.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So managing a friend-boss relationship goes both ways, right? So you just mentioned what the manager shouldn't do with the direct report friend, but let's flip that. What are some actions the direct report can take when their friend is their manager?
Well, I would say try to stay professional as you can. I would hope that anyone in the workplace would be professional anyway, but just continue to stay professional and know that that person is still your friend no matter what. But now you have them in a leadership role, so show some empathy. Show that you may be in that position one day yourself. And you have to say things like, I have too much on my plate, even though you're still my friend. And sometimes, don't keep leaving early or, gossip about them, some of those things.
Right. So you mentioned before that the person that you were managing, who happened to be a friend, started reporting into work late. So there were some discipline issues that needed to be addressed. How do you handle those discipline conversations with an employee that's a friend? Is there a best way to tackle that conversation and still maintain your friendship?
Well, first of all, you really have to be honest and timely. And you have to talk to them almost right after that happens. You can't let it build up, because if you're letting it build up, you're telling the person, I will allow you to do this. Like, say, for instance, when she started being late, I knew I had to pull her aside, because if I kept doing it, it'd be as if I was showing favoritism to her. And the other people would want that same kind of favoritism, or they were going to go up above my head and talk to somebody over my head and say, okay, this person is a friend. She's continuing to let her do that. So you have to be open with her, and timely. Timely is very, very important, because if you don't get on it right then, they can really mess you up, as not only as a friend, but as their boss, and they could take it other places. Even if the friend is angry, you kind of have to let it blow down and show respect that, that they're angry, but make sure that you bring them to a very private location and talk to them. It's like having a crucial conversation. And like, before you do that, you have to prepare kind of what you're going to say, what you're going to say, and what you saw, not what that you heard, what you saw happening. Even if it made sure, like, say, for instance, you bring in their time card or whatever, but you really have to talk to them and read over HR policies to make sure you're handling them well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes friendships end, and you can't continue to be friends depending on some situations that have occurred. Is there a way to end a workplace friendship with class and ensure it doesn't affect work life negatively?
Well, personally, I would prepare for it mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important because in your mind, you have to say, this may end up negatively. It may end up positively. Maybe, hopefully, the person may be a little bit more professional, but you just never know.
Yeah.
So in your mind, you really have to think about it mentally and how you're going to handle it, whether it's negatively or positive. But, another thing, too, you have to be prepared to be diplomatic. I know this may sound harsh, even though this is your friend. You have to be more diplomatic than you probably have ever been with that person. That person may go after you really harshly and don't agree with you, but sometimes you may have to stop and say, I agree to disagree, and just really let them, first I would really let them talk, and then I would come in and we may have some issues, but I would try to maintain diplomacy. You have to do that to keep your sanity, okay? And you have to make sure that when you are dissolving that relationship, you do it in a calm environment, maybe in your office, or even offer to take them to lunch, possibly, and then talk about why you feel this is necessary, and kind of talk about some of the actions that have occurred and some of the things that this person has gone overboard with. It almost goes back to when you talked about when we talk about the previous question, when you talked about difficult conversations that I may have to deal with, disciplinary action. So you may have to talk about some of those things if necessary. But most importantly, be transparent with them. Kind of, you just really have to be transparent. And then ask them to give their feedback. And this is like really having a crucial conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Crucial conversation.
Mm-hmm. Those are some good tips. Well, before we wrap up the session, I thought it might be fun to play a quick game called Trouble or Success. What I'm going to do is name a few types of behaviors some people display with a friend that happens to be their boss. After each one, just keeping it a little fun. After each one, let me know if it is a setup for trouble in the office or a setup for success. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. First one. Call your boss by his or her favorite friendship nickname in the office.
Oh, that is trouble. It is trouble because that nickname could be anything. It may be an ugly nickname. Instead of them calling me Sandy, I may have another kind of a nickname that only they're privy to, or somebody in my neighborhood. So that's trouble. That's causing trouble. And it shows, and it's almost showing like, I know this person so well, so I can still continue to call them by their nickname. No, that's trouble.
Right. We need boundaries, right? Right?
Absolutely.
Part of boundary making.
Mm-hmm. And that is a crucial conversation you may have to talk to them about.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. Second one. Call them up at night to discuss work-related questions or situations.
Now, you mean that I call them up or they call me up?
Either one. Is it success or trouble?
It's kind of trouble. It's kind of trouble because that means that, okay, we're so close friends. I could talk to you about things at night. It's going to be a setup for more trouble than success, I think.
All right. I think so too. Ready for the next one?
Mm-hmm.
In front of everyone in the office, they say, "What are we going to do this weekend, Dr. Sandy?" Trouble, because I don't want everybody to know that we're going to be hanging out this weekend. And will we be hanging out this weekend? Will anyone else want to hang out with us this weekend? No, because most likely if that happens, the conversations may start talking about what's happening, gossip at the workplace. So that's trouble. That's trouble. Definitely trouble. And the last one, keep your actions and discussions professional. Is that trouble, is it success?
That is success. Absolutely. That is success. because, whatever's happening in the workplace, you want to be professional as possible. You want to show some diplomacy. But not only that, by doing that with your friend, you can allow them to grow so that maybe one day they can become part of management as well. In essence, you're kind of teaching them, you're kind of growing them. And so why not do the very best for your friend by allowing them to be just in the same position that you are one day, if they want to be.
Awesome. That was fun, Dr. Sandy. Thank you.
It was. It was trouble at first, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. Thank you so much for sharing your time with the community today. What is the best way for our listeners to follow you?
They could follow me on Instagram at DivaDoc from the ATL, or they could follow me on LinkedIn at Dr. Sandra Wright, or they can email me at, you ready for this? dr.collinswright@gmail.com. That's dr.collinswright@gmail.com.
Well, thanks. Thank you so much for that information, Dr. Sandy, and thanks for joining the show.
Thank you for having me as well.